Welcome to Live from the Space at 100 Taylor Street with musical guest Paulina Jayne. We're thrilled and honored to welcome a blazing star in Nashville. The term up-and-coming star is thrown a lot around these parts, but this is a true trailblazer. Paulina Jayne, how are you today?
Oh, I'm doing so great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
So, your energy is infectious.
Well, thank you.
Like you walk into the room and you can feel your energy.
My goodness.
It is like, it's infectious.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, and it segues to actually like the first thing I was going to ask you, and it's Paulina. I've seen you play a bunch of times, and every time you go, whether it's the listening room or whether it's on Broadway, Whiskey Row, or wherever you go, there's a large contingency not only of fans, but of friends, family. There's always like an entourage of people who love you as a person. It's like it's almost like everyone that touches your energy is like follows you because it's like so addictive. Where does that come from?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I sure don't know where that comes from. I guess it's really a humbling thing to hear. Oh, thank you. I think that if there's any good in me, I don't necessarily know that it points to me. I think it points maybe up there, you know. But I sure do love people. I think that's important. I think we're here for connection and relationship. So the fact that they pursue that with me too is real special.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's your heart is just open.
Thank you.
And it feels like your heart is open, and it comes through in your music. When we walked in today, I said, "Where did you get that voice?" And when I hear your voice, it's big, and your voice, and I can feel your heart in your voice. Does that make any sense to you?
You know, I think that's always a goal, right? When we're in the studio and you're singing a song, whether it's happy, sad, in between, whatever. I had somebody tell me, you know, I want you to feel the emotion of that song. Like if it's a sad tune and something that you really feel deeply, I want you to be to the point where you're in the vocal booth and you're about to start crying when you sing the saddest line, you know? So I think that's always been a goal of mine, is to really share my heart through my music and my lyric and the recording of it. So it's great to hear that that's happening.
So you're from Detroit.
I am.
So what Detroit, Motown, soul.
Rock City.
Exactly. And I want to know, listening to your music, what in Detroit influenced you as far as the roots of the music in Detroit that transferred into you doing what you're doing here in Nashville?
So what's funny about Detroit and Michigan in general is that it has one of the largest country music markets in the whole country.
Yeah, people don't know that, right?
Nobody knows that.
Like not a lot of
I
people
did not know that.
Yes, so that's a new little fact for you here on whatever day this is, and so that's a fun little part of it. But aside from that, I mean, if you just go to the downtown part of this city and you walk into these little places called like Cliff Bells or St. Andrews Hall, a couple of different venues.
Yeah, and you've played St. Andrews a bunch of times.
It's one of my favorites.
A lot of your favorite, some of the best gigs that you've played are there, yeah.
That's one of my favorite places. But if you go in these spots, it's almost, you'd be remiss if you didn't feel some kind of inspiration, because people who have made their mark on music have all played in these little venues.
Exactly.
You know?
Especially in that town.
Right, exactly. So that's a whole nother part of the city. And then aside from that, you get this, you experience an emotion in this town when you're in downtown Detroit. You experience grit, you experience perseverance, and you encounter people who really, really worked hard for what they have and where they're going.
Yeah.
And so I think combining all of those things together, I can't say that when I was there I noticed all of it. Maybe it took a little perspective and coming down to Nashville to see that that's kind of where I grew up and what I grew up around. But those things have poured into me, and the people from that city and their hearts have really poured into me to.
Yeah, and let me ask you about that, because you talked about working hard. You have this song, Girl Who Would Be King, right?
Yes.
It's a classic song.
It's a throwback.
It's a throwback. But the message is part of your DNA, right? It's like work hard, you know, relentlessness.
Not afraid of hard
Does this
work.
come from Deborah, from Harold? Like, where does this come from?
Deborah
right?
and Harold are my parents. Absolutely. My parents have worked. My parents work 7 days a week now, and they're in their 60s. You know, they're still rocking and rolling, and I don't think they'll ever stop.
I love that.
So that work ethic was always a big part of my upbringing. You know, my mom was sitting by my side when I'd be up until 2, 3, 4 in the morning working on my projects in high school, and she was saying the difference between the men and the women and the boys and the girls are the finishers.
Yeah.
The people who finish. You have to be a finisher.
I love that.
And so I guess I look at that this way too in this industry, which is one where people say it takes 10 years to do anything. I guess I want to be a finisher.
Yeah.
You know, what it comes down to is, and it's obvious, it is about finishing, but it's about how much you really love what you're doing. And then it's not work, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You love, this is what you love. It's in, like I said, I can feel your heart, I can feel your energy, and I feel that in your music. I can feel that when you walk into the room, because there's so much joy that doing this brings you.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's just not about work. It's about, what else would I be doing? Right?
Was there a point where like it became like that? Because I mean, on research, maybe we can pinpoint it to in middle school when you performed Butterfly. You remember that? Yeah.
You know things so much, Jamie. I'm always like, wow.
No, but it's true. Like, okay, like it seemed like a seminal moment, because before that, maybe you did a little bit of piano, you did Bach, but I feel like in your story, in the story of Paulina Jayne, that was like a moment where you were like, man, like I can spread this on stage to people.
You know, I always say this, I was never one of those girls who was singing in her bedroom into a comb or anything, dancing around, and the stuffed animals were her audience. I was never that chick.
Yeah.
I was the girl who went and played the piano by myself, and was, you know, it was a very intimate moment between this instrument and myself, and I would just play music and write music.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I played a show in 8th grade, which I would have been writing at that point for about 4 or 5 years. And my church band came and backed me up at this little hole-in-the-wall venue, you know, and I'm sitting there on this stage and I'm thinking, oh, all my family and friends are going to be here, and I'm scared and nervous. I had not really sung in front of very many people except for that one time in middle school.
Yeah.
And there happened to be these 3 industry guys who were there. And then, you know, that led to my first management deal in my freshman year of high school.
Yeah.
So I guess I never really even though I signed a piece of paper, I never looked at it as a career. I looked at it as, this is what I really love. And so I'm doing this, you know, and maybe I was naive because I was a kid and didn't understand what a piece of paper meant, you know.
And staying in high school there, like, how was that, Paulina? Because you made a record deal in freshman year, but you also managed to do a 4.0 GPA. You played in the basketball team, in Grosse Pointe High.
Yeah.
The whole thing. And you knew what you wanted to do. How was your high school experience? Because, you know, if for all of us, being a teenager is like, it's a lot already, as it is.
Yeah.
Prom, this, that. Add your career element to it. How was that experience for you?
Well, I think every high school kid has their ups and downs. You know,
Yeah.
I was definitely somewhat of an ugly duckling, if you will. I went through my phases, you know. Puberty really wasn't nice to me, so I experienced all of that. And aside from that, though, I think the most unique part of the whole experience in high school was I was coming down to Nashville every 4 weeks, maybe 5, and I had to figure out how to juggle school and music and then basketball, which basketball sort of fizzled its way out when I had a couple knee surgeries.
Yeah.
But, you know, music was so heavily involved in every single area of my life. My teachers all knew about it.
Yeah.
They were all like, Paulina, when are you going to Nashville again? Oh, will you bring me back a souvenir? You know, kind of thing.
My God, that's the best.
And my principal was all invested, and so I really couldn't have graduated if it weren't for these people who had cheerleaded me on. Is that a word? Cheerleaded. I don't know, but
the community supported you.
Totally.
I did
Totally.
that. And they still do. You're a Michigan daughter at the end of the day. Yeah.
Well, can't get those A's out of my words yet, you know. Still got that Michigan A going on.
Flat A's.
Oh my God, I love that.
The flat A's. So, with all of this, I asked you when we came here. So, where did this voice come from? Where did this powerful voice come from?
You know, when I was first starting to sing, I was very shy, very nervous, and my mom was such an awesome singer that I didn't want to sing in front of her. So I would turn up the music really, really, really loud in my bedroom sometimes and practice in there, and then I would be scared to bring it anywhere out of my bedroom. And it wasn't until I started working with a man named Herschel Boone.
Yeah.
Herschel has sung backups for Kid Rock for a long time, but aside from that whole career of his, he's just got a whole resume and reputation of just extraordinary things. And so he would come over to my house and spend hours with me, just sitting there and listening to my music, and I would sing for him. And he used to tell me, Paulina, you're going to have a big voice. You're going to have it. We're just going to keep working through this. We're going to keep working and practicing. You're going to have a big voice. And I never really thought about my voice as ever being big until I kind of realized, like, when I would do these writers' rounds, sometimes, like, I might just be a little loud. So I've got to reel it in a little there, Paulina. Yeah. But I think there's a beauty to dynamic. And I think that actually, even if a song is not necessarily great, if it has wonderful dynamics in the vocals and in the music, you can make it something really special, and you can make it have a moment.
Your voice is the expression of your personality in your heart.
Thank you.
And that's why it's big.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, Paulina, why don't you play a little song for us?
Sure, I would love to.
Maybe we'll talk a little bit about the songwriting and all that cool stuff.
I would love to.
You always give me the premieres. Like when you were in my podcast, you played Drive By like for the first time when it was like, you know, in its raw element. So I'm always honored. Absolutely.
That's so funny. I forgot about that. But yeah, you know, I was sitting and thinking about, this is gonna sound so singer-songwritery and everything, but I was just sitting and thinking the other day about the wind. Okay, let me follow this up with, if you think about, I don't know if you guys are spiritual at all, but I am. And so I believe in something that I can't see. And sometimes it's hard to even feel something I can't feel. Can't reach out and touch his leg or anything, you know? So I was looking at the wind in the trees one day, and I was just saying to myself, you know, there he is. Like, there's the Holy Spirit in the wind right now, and I can see it when the leaves move, and I can feel it when the wind's at my back, and I sort of envisioned myself as a little bit of a feather in the wind, and that's kind of where this song was born and where it came from. So bear with me, because I'm still learning it myself.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that.
But I figure we'll try something new out. Like a feather in the wind, I'll brave the weather blowing in. If life takes me east instead of west, ain't no need to second guess where I'm going or where I'll land. I know one day I'll understand, see the canvas of where I've been. I'll be the feather if you're the wind. If I can lasso up the storm, if I'm forced south instead north, I'll ride the waves, somehow the feather soars. Yeah, that's what the wind is for. It lifts me higher than I've I've ever dreamed. If I graze the fire blazing beneath, it'll sweep me up or I fall in. I like being the feather when you're the wind. I'm on my wayward, ain't afraid of getting lost, no. Like a river, I'll meander and crisscrossing. It ain't living if I know what's coming next. So every morning I wake up with breath, I'll give in and be the feather if you're the wind. Sometimes I'm floating right through space. Most of the time I can't keep my peace, depending on what I can't see to bring me where I ought to be. And in that moment I'm most human, 'cause only God knows what he's doing. I'm just me and he's all him. I'm just me, so I'm all in. I'll be the feather if he's the wind.
Spectacular.
Something like that.
That's
you know, I'm still,
Paulina.
like I said, I'm still learning that thing.
That's beautiful, Paulina.
That was beautiful.
That was beautiful.
Thank
That was
you.
really beautiful.
Thank you.
And let me ask you about spirituality, since you brought it up, and the
Yeah,
song
let's
is
talk
really
about
about
it.
that.
That's my favorite topic.
you know, well, because, you know, you have such a big heart and all this good energy and all this that we already talked about, but we're all human. We all have our lows.
Yep.
And I know we've had our struggles. I'm sure you've had your struggles, your
Oh,
family,
yeah.
that whole thing.
You've had struggles?
That's my
What's
point.
that?
You
What's
have had
you
struggles?
That's my
you
point.
heard of that before?
No, that's my point. But you have so many fans and stuff looking up to you, and it's like, but what role does spirituality have in for you in the way you manage life's punches, Paulina?
You know, I think the coolest part about the guy I believe in is that every single morning I wake up, I am wanted, and I'm needed, and I'm loved, and that is renewed every morning.
Yeah.
And so, because of that, it makes it a heck of a lot easier to care for people the same way.
Yeah.
And like I said, I got my shortcomings. You know, I'm not perfect. Sometimes I'm mad in traffic. You know what I mean? But like, that is the coolest part about it all, I think.
Yeah.
So, the most challenging part is releasing our trying to control everything in our lives and follow our soul's plan through it.
Yeah.
That will allow us to really release and let go,
Yeah.
and trust that there is something much bigger than us guiding us along the way. And if we move into our heart space and allow that, we can just follow the path because, and I'm leading into your amazing video of love. So that's why I said when you come in your energy, you can feel your heart by being in that place and then letting go and allowing spirit to guide us on our path. And then we can make all of those choices based upon love. I watched your video, which is exactly about that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely it is. Hello, hatred, how long have you been waiting for peace and love to die and make you king?
Beautiful.
And it's the opening line, you know, and then one of my favorite lines in the second verse is, come on, kindness, don't let fear define us. Come on, kindness, don't let fear define us. There's no heart so dark that that we can't overcome. Hate can't chase us out if we don't run. And
You know, and that song, the song you just played, really touched me.
thank you.
And
So
the
glad.
message of it,
Yeah.
which is about following, because God, spirit, whatever we're going to call it, it's love.
Yeah.
It is love, yep.
It's love. And you exude that when you walk into the room.
Thank you.
And stay with that. No, am I making this into a therapy session here?
Yeah.
Listen, I haven't been a therapist in a while, so let's go.
No, but that's what I'm seeing. I'm feeling the energy of this joy. And of course, we all have our highs and lows, or expansions and contractions, where we go into the shadow for a while. But I've been doing this a long time in this business. There's so many people who are really super cynical. Can we raise our hands from time to time? When, if you could stay in this place where you are with your energy. Somebody once told me once, we can all be incredibly talented, but it's not always the most talented people who get to really move out into the world and express themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've got both, and you've got that big voice, but it's your heart.
Yeah, I agree.
Wow, thank you so much.
Let's talk a little bit about the music, because no, it's true. No, it's true. Like, absolutely, and I think that's like your main theme, and it's beautifully the way we put it.
Thank you. Thanks for saying that. I appreciate it.
Your latest song, which has been a hit single, Drive By or Drove By?
Drove By.
Drove By.
But you can drive by too.
Yeah, you can drive by
maybe
too.
it's in the present. I don't know.
A little more aggressive. Drive By. Yeah, Drove By has a little different, like, it's more warm.
Yeah.
But yeah, the studio version, when it first came out, Paulina, your musical evolution is incredible in it.
Oh my goodness.
Because you still have the lyrics but like you're reaching levels of musicality with the song and the instrumentation and your band and the production, that it's a very well, like, top of the line song, Paulina.
Thank you. I was definitely going for that.
Yeah.
So that's a goal achieved, it sounds like. But I really could not have done it without my band. I brought half of my Detroit band down.
It sounds okay.
Yeah.
I was going to follow up with that question.
Yes, sir. Yes, I did. I brought my rhythm section down and my keys player down.
That's why it sounds the way it sounds.
Yes, and so I did that for a few reasons. One, I love the Nashville sound, but it's not what I feel I do entirely.
Right.
There are things that I want to pull from the Nashville sound and add into my music, but I think foundationally, you just can't get away from what's done in Detroit, the rhythm section there. I mean, think about Motown, like most Motown songs, the rhythm and the beat, aside from their wonderful melodies, it's what keeps you listening, that backbeat, that extra something that's happening in Detroit and only in Detroit.
Right.
Needed to be captured in these songs that I was doing. So,
have you seen Standing in the Shadows of Motown?
Oh, I haven't yet. But you know what? I went to Hitsville. Have you been there? Have you been there?
I've never been to Detroit. I have many friends from Detroit.
Listen, we'll go up. I'll give you the whole tour.
But go and see the documentary. It came out years ago.
I know.
Standing in the Shadows of Motown, about the Funk Brothers.
Yep.
And if anybody wants to find out about Detroit, it's that amazing documentary about those guys who created all of those sounds. And it's all about that. Detroit's all about rhythm.
Yeah. Wonderful, solid, intact rhythm section. And what people don't see oftentimes is that the piano and the keys and synth and organ and everything are such percussionistic instruments that they have to be included in that.
Definitely.
In that rhythm.
And it was risky, Paulina. It was a little risky because of everything we're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you're taking a big leap there musically.
Totally.
But you had confidence in yourself and your skills, and I'm so grateful you did, but it was a risk nonetheless.
Totally a risk. I mean, and it can come across as sort of arrogant in a way. Oh, you're bringing musicians to Nashville to play on your record, and you're not going to use the finest of fine in Nashville to play on your record, So it can come across that way, but that's not at all what I intended. I just had an idea and a vision for a certain thing, and the band that I have, I play with live as well, so they understand a whole other avenue of what we do, and not to mention the chemistry that we have. I've been playing with them since I was 15, 16, 17. So
Before we wrap up, Paulina, I've asked you about this before, but it's worth saying again because it's one of the most beautiful things. You're involved in a lot of beautiful foundations. But like, let's talk again about the one, what's the name? It's
Miss Amazing.
Miss Amazing.
Yep.
Because it is just the most beautiful thing you're doing there, and you're changing girls' lives.
Oh, well, they're changing mine. I'm telling you. I went to one event for this organization called Miss Amazing. They focus on empowering girls with disabilities, and they do it through these pageants and events. Not so much pageants as they are events where these women get to showcase their talents on a stage. But I went to one a few years ago, and one of my very best friends was managing all of it, and she was directing all of it. And she said, Paulina, I just want you to come see what this is all about. So I went, spent a couple hours there, and I don't think I had a dry eye the whole time, number one. But number two, this label that we've put as a society on these people who have so-called, disabilities, really just things that make them different from the general population. They are almost superpowers in a way. Like, these are almost superpowers. I mean, there's this young woman, she's in a wheelchair and she can hardly speak, but she's found a way to communicate through this iPad, and she can write down her thoughts, and she wrote a whole speech out, and the actual iPad spoke her speech, but she couldn't through her own mouth, and when you heard the words,
amazing.
They were beautiful. I mean, it was beautiful. So it's a superpower, and the fact that I get to do anything with them is like such an honor. And I was just working with Musicians on Call today. I don't know if you guys have heard of them too, but wonderful organization. They do a lot with the Hall of Fame.
So what do you do? Where did you go?
I just played downtown, just in this little park, actually.
Across from the Hall of Fame?
Across from, very close to the Hall of Fame. But yeah, we did this little singing thing because they were sort of just making an awareness of, trying to gain some awareness on Musicians on Call.
We need more Paulina Jaynes in the world. I think that's the takeaway here. Jeff, why don't you take it away? Take us home.
Wow. I'm mesmerized.
Oh my goodness.
Of your energy.
Yeah.
It's like I want to give you a big hug, and I will.
You can. I'm a hugger. I didn't get enough of those in 2020,
The question we ask, I'm befuddled right now. I'm mesmerized listening to you and feeling your energy. Tell everybody, who is Paulina Jayne?
Oh, who is Paulina Jayne? Who am I? First and foremost, I'm a believer. Second, I'm a lover of people. Third, I'm a daughter to my parents. And fourth, I'm a friend to my friends. And then fifth, I'm an artist and a songwriter.
Beautiful. Lovely.
That's who I am.
Thanks, Paulina. Take us home with a song.
Okay.
Awesome.
I will do that.
We don't really do requests.
Okay.
Could I do a request?
Yeah, let's do it.
Play.
Loves Can Always Win? Sure, you got it, my friend. All right, let's see what we got here. Hello, hatred. How long have you been waiting for peace and love to die and make you king? Well, you've been trying to keep the dove from flying, to break into our hearts and silence love before it sings. Well, the world's on fire, hope is a burning inferno high, love is a candle that you cannot light, love's gonna always win. Well, come on, kindness, don't let fear define us. There's no heart so dark that light can't overcome. if we don't run. Where the world's on fire, hope is a burning inferno high. Love is a candle that you can't light. Love's gonna always win. No matter who we are, we all speak the only language of the heart. It's the only thing that saves us in the end. Love's gonna always win. I added this like little verse thing that I did one time, and I just thought it was kind of perfect for the sort of
Bring it.
where we're at and kind of the world and in general. But this is what it was. No matter where you come from, no matter where you've been, no matter where you're going, or what you got to give. I said love's gonna always win. No matter where you come from, no matter where you've been, no matter where you're going, or the color of your skin, I said love's gonna always win. I said no matter where you come from, no matter where you've been, no matter where you're going, or what you got to give, I said love's gonna always win. I said love will always, love will always, love's gonna always win. Well, love's gonna always win. Yeah.
I got a clap.
Oh man.
You got a clap, Paulina. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
That
I
was
appreciate it.
absolutely otherworldly.
Really?
That was otherworldly. Thank you, Paulina.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for listening.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
You're amazing.
Well, you guys are too. Cheers! Cheers to good times, good music, and
We're good?
and new friends, right?
Just give me-